Hi everybody and a big welcome to a Kenrith deck tech video. Today we have the winner of Lotus Bowl 6, Tim Cruortide, playing Kenrith.
Heck yeah.
Congratulations for winning that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How come you choose Kenrith for that, by the way?
It's honestly just slower cEDH. That's what it is.
That doesn't sound so good.
I mean, well, the problem is cEDH is like a nuke, and you know, they don't remove Kenrith, so that's fine. It doesn't do enough.
That's true, actually. That is true. I actually personally feel that cEDH's biggest problem is that she's getting very hated.
Yep.
It's a very targeted commander. If you play her, you get removed. She gets removed or stuff like that. And you don't have that experience with Kenrith, I'm guessing? You're getting left behind?
No. Not at all. The main thing is with cEDH is their activations are going to win the game. They can try to politic you as much as they want, as like, oh, I'm looking for an answer. Their answer is going to win the game every time.
Yeah.
It doesn't change that. While Kenrith can be more of like a utility thing, where you can be like, oh, I'm gonna reanimate a Dranith. I'm gonna reanimate this, and let me draw a card for an answer or something like that, which it means people are not gonna generally remove it because they're like, oh, he might not actually try to win the game here. Oh wait, nope, he did. Okay, unfortunate. You know,
never trusting you again.
Yeah, exactly.
But is your Kenrith build, like you're talking about cEDH here, so do you have an experience playing cEDH?
I've experienced playing against a lot of cEDH. We have one or two at my local meta, so definitely play against a lot of it. Play against a lot of Kinnan. Play against a lot of the standard other decks, Blue Form Talions, things like that. So I try to Nagila too, right? Yep. All these decks are just like normally drawing a lot of hate besides like Blue Form Italian, you know? So I try to mimic the pace of play that those decks are trying to do, but I operate in a way where I win uncounterably and normally not having to cast a spell. So that means that when it gets to the point of being like turn 6 or something like that, it's pretty much wraps.
So it sounds like you're looking for a commander that is similar to the ones you've mentioned, as I'm guessing that suits your playstyle, and you want something that is like a little bit more left alone compared to like these commanders get focused quite hardly more.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to rely on my commander. I hate commanders like cEDH where it's like they play a Dranith, and if you don't have removal in your hand, you're done.
I agree.
And that just sucks. It's a terrible game plan to me. It's super one-dimensional. So whenever I look at things like Blue Farm or something like that, I really like the way those decks operate, as I can have my commander or I can have Rhystic Study, which is my secret commander. And that works out for them, you know. For my deck, I can win via Kenrith Loop. I can also just win via Dockside Emil Blinking Bowmaster. I can win via Breach. I can win via Thassa's. I don't need Kenrith. Yeah. And that's the other reason why I don't think it gets removed as much, is because they're sitting there and it's like, okay, I remove this. He can still just Thassa's Demcon me right now.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to just tap out to remove a Kenrith, and then you go, okay, now you don't have mana for counterspell, so I win with this thing instead. Yeah.
There have been times where people have messed up like that, and it's like, I don't have a way to actually Kenrith loop. They remove Kenrith, and then I go, cool, Grand Abolisher, you know? It's like, all right, well, unfortunate.
Yeah. So one thing I kind of like about Kenrith too is that he can be built in so many different variations of ways, because it's a 5-color, very open commander with card draw in the command zone. So how have you built him?
I've built him in a, I guess, more mid-rangey good stuff type of pile. Like when you look at, do you know PTD?
Yeah.
Do you know that?
But okay. You should probably explain it because listeners might not know about it.
His list is quite a bit slower than mine. It relies on things like Deadeye Navigator and these like bigger cards, while I'm trying to be a little bit more lean, focusing on card draw because I don't have that in my command zone. And then I don't run things like Adnaz, which is what is in what's called Mad King variant. you know, that whole deck. And I try not to have these like rituals and things like that because they can cause these like blowouts in tempo where you go ritual, 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 and then you play Kenrith, and then he gets swordsed, and then you're just sitting there with two lands, and you just have nothing going on. It just feels awful.
Yeah.
My deck focuses on consistency in a way of every card I play, it's not going to feel that bad if it gets destroyed or anything like that. And hopefully I will accrue this consistent value to win the game.
So basically every single individual card is standing on its own, and they can be on their own. There could be synergy between the cards, but it's more important that a solid card will work fine on its own, kind of.
Yes. On my actual deck list, I recently added tags to it, and I put in a list of cards that I believe are just like, there's a tag that's called almost strictly combo pieces, and those are cards that I believe are sometimes dead.
Yeah.
And there's 10 of them.
That's not that many. What are those 10 cards, by the way?
Lion's Eye Diamond.
Yep.
Demonic Consultation, Skirk Prospector, Brain Freeze, Thassa's Oracle, Savine's Reclamation, Emil, and then the ones that I think are a little controversial, but I'm saying sometimes are dead here, is Wheel of Fortune, Underworld Breach, and Dockside Extortionist.
Oh, I don't think Dockside Extortionist is ever dead. It will always be like...
I've been in some games where it's a Dockside for 2 and it feels bad.
Sure, but those are rare.
I said rare. That's what I said. Rarely. That one's the most rare. That one's the most rare. That one
I will also actually disagree with the Demonic Consultation being a dead card. I don't mind using Consult to tutor for a turn 2 heuristic study. I don't mind.
Oh, that's a philosophy difference right there.
It might be. But sometimes you get there and it will feel amazing with a turn 2 heuristic study.
And let me ask you this: are you Demonic Consultationing in a top 4 for heuristic?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Oh no! I mulligan there. That's what I do. No, I'm not relying.
If I see a turn 2 heuristic study from a consult and the rest of the cards are kind of fine, I'm probably going for it. Live a little. I'm a gambling man.
See, I like consistently doing well. No. I don't like flipping the coin like that. I'll play card for that.
The chance of actually your deck is actually very built around being able to do that, because if you take a look at your deck list in general, there's a very broad variety of various combos. So let's say you exile a Thassa's Oracle, your deck would still be fine. Like if you get your hands on Emil and Dockside somewhere down the line still in the deck, you're good to go still.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's like I look at cards like Demcon as like emergencies. You know, I've definitely used a Demcon as a tutor where I've like, but it's more for like naming Mindbreak Trap because someone's about to win the game, and it's like, all right, well, I'm done sandbagging, and this guy's used like 8 pieces of interaction. I guess I should probably use my Demcon at this point.
I should contribute here.
Yeah, sometimes you don't, but you know. But I did that once in a while, and you know, it's sometimes I remove 85% of my deck, and everyone thinks I'm out of the game, and then I top deck some random piece, and it just works out.
Yeah.
Like people forget that, you know, Dockside isn't the only combo in the deck, even though, you know, Kenrith is married to it, so it is what it is. People forget that Savala can be its own little combo piece and other stuff.
So speaking of combo pieces, how many combo cards do you actually have inside this deck? Or how many different like combos are you going for? You mentioned that other Kenrith players are going for like the Dead-Eyed Navigator and Atnos, and you were not going on those too.
Yeah, so the reason why I don't go for things like that is, well, I don't use cards like Neoform and Eldritch because it kind of goes with what I was saying of like this blowout in tempo, where if I sack my Kenrith for a Deadeye and then that gets offered, that's horrible, and I don't want to rely on that, right? If I spend 6 mana or whatever on a finale or something, and that gets countered, I still have Kenrith. So I'm not in like the worst position possible. So
you
that's
don't
why I
want
don't
to
use things like
consult
that.
early for Rustic. You don't want to sacrifice your commander for Deadeye. Oh,
No,
just
no, no,
kidding.
no, no, no,
We're
no,
playing
no,
safe
no.
here.
Yeah. I mean, it's when I played 60 card, I'm like a blue-white control player. So,
Yeah.
that's oh yeah. I love me some Bant Bean control. Anyways,
But what I can
for a
see here is
legacy
that you
player.
have like Skirk Prospector Dockside, which is a
Yes.
combo with the Kenrith. Emil Dockside.
Absolutely.
You have Selvala and Emil, that is also actually a combo. Selvala.
Yes, because you give it haste with Kenrith.
Yeah. And then you have Breach, Lions Diamond,
it also-
Brain Freeze.
Yeah, Emil also combos with Bloom Tender.
Yes.
If you have 5 color permanents. Mayhem Devil Dockside works.
Phantasmal Image Dockside.
Phantasmal Image Dockside. Mayhem, or not Mayhem, but if you have Dockside and it's high enough, you can do Dockside Bowmaster or Fimage with Bowmaster and a Dockside anywhere on board.
Yeah.
Another one that I really like that's been helping me out, especially with these. I've been playing in a couple games where there are like 2 Sisseys at the pod, and that normally means there's a low artifact count, just because they like to, kind of go dork Sissay type of thing. When I play Selvala, you can combo with Selvala and any clone by reanimating it, doing a reanimate loop, and using Legend Rule to sack it. So that works out pretty well. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. That one's definitely gotten me a couple of sneaky games where they don't think there's a combo in my bin.
Yeah, I think people forget the part where Kenrith can actually give your creatures haste.
Yes.
So if you're sacrificing
absolutely.
or flickering a big mana dork, it will go infinite.
Yes, 100%. My favorite part is that most people don't reread Kenrith, and then they forget that a lot of his stuff is very symmetrical. It says like, target player, a graveyard.
Yeah.
All creatures get haste. I've definitely had some games where I've had to remind a player after a game, of course, being like, oh yeah, by the way, your Deathrite Shaman got haste, so you could have stopped my combo. Things things like that. People don't read the commander, which is nice because they don't feel as threatened, I guess. I don't know. It's funny. So
now there's one card that among all of this that is actually not a part of the combo, but it could actually help out some of your Kenrith loop combos.
Yep.
And that is Algota of the Wild Cauldron. It is a Gruul legendary, 1 green, 1 red, which is reducing Kenrith's activated abilities.
Yes.
I find it very cool that you're playing this one.
Yeah, it is. It has gotten me a lot of value. People will normally never counter it, mostly because it's what I'd consider as like a dependent in the deck, where it depends on these other cards to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just Kenrith on board, at best, it's just creating a very strong draw engine.
Yeah.
Which can be obviously very, very good, but generally people don't, always counter Ristic studies or things like that. So when they see that and they're like, oh, you're just going to use your mana to draw cards. Okay, well, that's fine, whatever. And
the thing that I think people are missing with the true potential of this card is that with Kenrith and Agata of the Wild Cauldron, you can, for one green and, just 1 green, put a counter on her. And then you do that 1 more time, and maybe 1 more time again, until she's a 3/3. And now it's just 1 blue mana to draw a card.
Absolutely.
And the cool part here is that if you do it 1 more time, it's just 1 black mana to reanimate a creature.
If you're doing a Fimage loop with Dockside, you only need 3 treasures.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. Sometimes some people see like a Culling Ritual resolves, and there's like, a 1 ring heuristic, and that's the only things on board, and then you're just like, oh, I'm gonna reanimate Dockside with Agatha. I'm not gonna win. It's like, oh, okay. Whoops, forgot about that part.
Yeah.
So, no, I like these cards that it changed the math in a deck. I used to play a lot of Magda, and a card like Roaming Throne was really huge for Magda because it changed the actual math of how the deck works. Where, before it's like, okay, they need to, if they have 5 treasures and then they tap or they activate Magda and then they get one of the pieces, they still need to get those 5 more treasures.
Yeah.
If I've seen people go and, you know, now they're like, they tutor for a roaming throne, then tap 3 dwarves with a vehicle.
Yeah.
And it just, that they only really needed 8 treasures, right? If you think about it like that. It's very interesting how these cards that change the math just make games a lot easier, mostly because I think people get stressed in like these high pressure situations, and then they have a lapse of, you know, thought or something like that. They just forget.
I think one of the most simple one of the math changing cards is Wishclaw Talisman with Dockside.
100%. I've definitely done that before. Yeah, just like, dude, Dockside counts like 2. Don't worry about it. Like, and you just hand it to him. Like, oh wait, actually it's 3. Oh, whoops.
Some other cool cards you have in here is Bina the Demagogue.
Bina, yes. Yeah.
Bina.
Yeah.
So this is a 3 mana, 1 black, 1 white, 1 generic flying bird warlock. What do you think of this? Why are you playing this?
It's been a recent include. I started adding it after I put it in my blue farm list that I used to just practice with here and there. I learned it from, you know, Lemora cards.
Yeah. For those who don't know who Lemora cards are, it's another YouTube channel that is also making cEDH content.
Yes. He did a review on the Japanese tournament scene, and almost all the blue farm players over there were running Bina.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's very, very good for a multitude of reasons in this deck, because it's a creature-based draw engine, right? Where I can get this card advantage, and I'm not having to, you know, cast like easily counterable spells like Rhystic Study or something like that for me. That's why I like it. But also it has inherent synergy with Selvala, Cutzel, and protecting my 1 toughness dorks and other pieces. That's why I like it a lot.
Personally, why I don't like Brenna is that it's a potential group hug commander giving card draw to your other opponents.
That is true. I like it for the reason that I see a lot of blue farm players like it, which is blue farm wants everyone to have cards in their hands, because if you're wondering why I'm saying that, I promise it'll make sense. It'll make sense. I've heard this from quite a few blue farm players. It's you want everyone to have cards, because then everyone has interaction and everyone can potentially handle anything. So what inevitably happens is, if everyone has 7 or 10 or whatever cards in hand, no one is going to go for anything, because they know it's going to get counterspelled or removed to oblivion, unless there's, you know, silence effects and things like that, which of course blue farms run, like their Cavern of Souls and the Grand Abolisher and stuff like that, right? And in my deck, I've definitely been in the situation where I'm handing everyone cards, and it's like, oh, I have to discard. I discard, you know, a couple of pieces like an Emil or something like that at the end of it. And then when it comes back to my turn, even though everyone has a bunch of counter spells and stuff like that, I actually don't need to cast a spell to win the game. So I don't care if everyone has cards in their hand. But other people normally do, because they're trying to cast like Thassa's and Demcon and things like that.
I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong, and then I'm gonna tell you why you're correct. So I'm going to disagree. And there's one thing that's very important to understand, because that situation where you're talking about, where everyone has cards and no one is winning because no one wants to win because they know they're going to be interacted with, the person that can win through people's hand size will be the one winning that one. And those commanders are specifically Cisse, Vinota, and a few other commanders that basically don't use the stack. Like Cisse could activate, no one does anything, boom, Teferi, Grand Abolisher effect in play, or Kutsil, and now Cisse can win, even though you have 10 cards in hand. So I will agree that there are some of those commanders that could be benefiting from opponents having cards in their hand. I wouldn't say that blue farm is one of them, but this is where I'm going to agree with you and say Kenrith is actually one of those that can win through everyone's enormous hand size by simply saying, okay, activate commander, reanimate Grand Abolisher.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's why it's in my deck. It also just has, you know, inherent extra synergy. That's why I very much like it. It's a way to have an actual clock on the table as well. Of course, like I've definitely been in the situation where it's gone around the table and I'm like, cool, I'm untapping with my I think the most I've gotten in a tournament is I've untapped after one turn cycle with a 12 power Kenrith.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those moments where you're like, okay, well, time to put someone on a turn 2 or 2-turn clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. This is kind of the moment where everyone is drawing cards equally, and everyone has like an enormous hand size and capacity to interact with the typical cEDH stuff. The non-typical cEDH stuff, like the Kenrith beatdown, suddenly becomes kind of good.
Yeah.
So what I kind of want to emphasize here, that I think Bina could be kind of fine in your build considering the topics we've been mentioning.
Yes.
But I'm skeptic for it inside something like a Tim Cruortide that wouldn't be able to play the same kind of game like Kenrith and cC and Venota can do.
I would agree that it is worse. Although I do question why cEDH players don't run it. I still don't get that yet. I've been arguing with a couple of my boys for a while now about that one.
cC builds have started to become very turbo in general.
Yes,
I think that cC players have played mid-range for quite a while, and now they have really started to get like extremely turbo toys, or tools you could also say. And I think they moved more and more towards turbo. But I could agree that cC could be playing something like this too.
Yeah, I agree with you on like especially like the tutor chain variant of cC, the ones that are just, they have, like 12 planeswalkers in the list and whatnot. I can agree with you that they're very, very fast. I mean, it's a tutorable card draw. I mean, you might as well just, like just throw it in there. It also increases cC's power, so that's cool, I
don't think cC would usually tutor for Brenna. It's just something she would usually have to increase her power now and then.
Yeah, you play Brenna, then you swing with cC, and all of a sudden cC's 6 power. So, well, I guess they just tutor up their win conditions. So
another newer card is Trouble in Pairs.
Yes.
What do you think of this card?
Well, I got put on it from one of my guys hounding me about it. He plays it in his Shorakai list and other stuff. And I was like, I need more card draw engines and stuff like that. And I was a little bit of a hater before because I was like, how many cards does it really draw? It draws a lot of cards. It draws way too many cards. It's very, very nuts. In a Ristic Study world, it almost... Sometimes I've had moments where it draws more than Ristic Study because they can't pay for it. You know what I mean? They can't get rid of it. So they're, whether it's they're having like an interaction battle or something like that, and everyone's cast 2 spells at the table, all of a sudden you've drawn 3 additional cards and you're like, oh, that's neat. And then someone goes and they draw 2 off of their Ristic Study, and then you're like, cool, a 4th card. And then, it's absolutely nuts.
So your verdict on Trouble in Pairs seems to be good.
Oh yeah. If I can shove more 4-drops into my deck, I will.
Speaking of value, and you're also playing Talion, which I think is really good in general inside Kenrith. Now, if someone is going to be moving into playing Kenrith in general, what would be your advice, so to say?
My advice is patience, I guess. Also, I think Kenrith is for people who are good at politicking. I think that's what I would say.
Honestly, though, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I think cEDH is a game for people who are good at politic. It is starting to become more and more showcased that politicking is usually what is making people
lose games and stuff. Yeah.
I was gonna say not lose games.
So you're saying like I get what you mean. Like lack of politicking definitely causes people to lose games, and sometimes it's the way people politic can cause them to lose, whether they yap way too aggressively or something like that. I try to keep a fun atmosphere. I'm normally the joker at the table,
I'm that too, but that's just because that's how I naturally am. I can't hide from
exactly. It normally allows me to just ease my way through it and not deal with as much friction in the game. I feel like if you're saying nothing, people will get scared, I guess. It's like that fear of the unknown where they're like, ooh, does he just have
Yeah.
Dockside in hand? You know what I mean? Like things like that.
Yeah,
I've
that's
sat
true.
at tables and revealed my hand at pods and stuff like that to be like, oh yeah, no, dude, I got nothing. Look at this.
Yeah, I've actually done that too.
Just so that way I
there's
don't get
been a
Kenrith
few.
removed.
Yeah. There's been a lot of different situations where like, okay, this is my hand. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I can do and stuff. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Almost every game I've played with Kenrith in really important matches, your top 16s and things like that, they're lasting. I don't think I've had. I think I had like in the past 3 or 4 tournaments, I've had like one game that lasted less than an hour. You know, every game I play with Kenrith, it's like 2 hours ish, maybe sometimes more. The finals that I did at this one was I think 2 hours and 45 minutes in the finals, and I think some people, they lose focus. They get
True. Yes.
especially when you're playing something like Roxai or something like that. If you get like stomped out in the first, your first like 2 win attempts, on turn 3. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You can check out. You can check.
No, I agree. I've learned something like I have a very good skill the longer the game goes, so to say. I've noticed that I'm not losing focus over the course of the game, and I've noticed that other people are doing that. There are people who are very focused in the early stage, and then they're starting to lose. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and I think that commander like Kenrith is a commander that kind of needs you to stay in focus during the course of the game. So I think I really enjoy what you said there about highlighting patience being important. That's it for us. Thank you so much, Tim, and congratulations for winning the match. Now, if you actually want to take a look at the details of how Tim have put this deck together, there's a link in the description below of the video.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to NetDeck, my local play group, as well as my guy Jonah, who watches cEDH TV. Every one of their videos while he's at work, as well as my guy Isaiah playing a spicy red farm list at this tournament. Rograk Rayhan, 19 lands.
19 lands?
Yes, he's a psycho.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. I should take a look at that. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.